Welcome to Loving God and Loving Life here in John chapter 18. The theme is Jesus being betrayed and arrested, his trials. There's actually 3 of them. And Peter denying even knowing Jesus. So many things. This chapter is such an epic, when his trial before Pilate, when Jesus says, I've come into the world to testify to the truth. And Pilate says, what is truth? I mean, just these massive epic statements. But just something that's probably more comforting and maybe a little bit more personal to us is this amazing thing when Jesus says back in verse 11, the soldiers have come to arrest Jesus. Now think of it. I mean, he's got a natural life just like ours, and even knowing the will of God. How do I know? How would Jesus know that this is the right time? They wanted to arrest him many times. How would he know that this is the right time? Jesus was so clear that his life was in God's hand. And he interpreted what came down the road of life a little bit differently than most of us. He was aware of God's power and God's sovereignty, and that God was the one bringing life to him. So he tells Peter is trying to fight off these soldiers, and Jesus says, no. He says, Peter, put your sword back. Listen to these words of Jesus. Shall I not drink from the cup of suffering the Father has given me? Yes, Jesus recognized that the Father has a good plan, yes, for Jesus, but God's going to give you more than one cup in your life, and some of those cups are going to have some suffering in them. Most people spend their entire life pushing those cups away, or trying to get to the good cups, to try to get to let's get back to the wine here. We don't want this suffering part. But probably about 90% of the stuff you're going to really enjoy and feel good about and rewarded in are on the heels of that cup of suffering, not pushing that away, going through it, doing God's will in it. Let's be those people who recognize that, no, Jesus was clear, that the Father's sending this to me. These soldiers aren't here of their own accord, and it's the devil that's overpowering. No. There's some suffering coming, and this is God's plan right now, and I'm going to find God's grace to get through this, and most of all, I'm going to find his blessing on the backside of it. God, thank you. Thank you for your grace in our life, that even when you bring suffering, God, you bring us through, and then you bless and lift us up. God, send us one person today to share your love with. Let's not forget, friends, it's loving God that leads us to a life that we love.